Hello! It's June 29th when I'm making this video, so we're in the heart of the summer solstice period, the long summer days and short summer nights. So it's only fitting, I think, that I'm gonna tell a story this time about the opposite end of the year, wintertime, in the same latitudes or even further north. A story from the Nenets people of central Siberia about what happens when you don't use firelight sparingly, what happens when the blizzard takes over, and what this encounter with short light and lots of darkness can bring about in terms of constructive conflict, resolution, and growth.
Long ago, on the Arctic Sea, there lived a woman and two teenage children. They lived in a tent, or yaranga, and it was approaching winter. The time of shadows, the time of darkness, and blizzard was approaching. The witch blizzard, who risked to come in and take over, blocking out all light and chilling anything and everyone inside the tent. So the mother told her kids to go get firewood, but they were otherwise occupied, so they didn't. The son Yatto and the daughter Teyune were busy. The son building new objects, pieces of furniture. The daughter was sewing. And so no firewood was gathered, and the fire slowly but surely flickered out. And one last spark, though, flickered away from the flames, out into the darkness, and scorched the approaching blizzard's robe, burning a hole into it. So this meant that when blizzard arrived, she was especially upset. She took over and she swept the old mother away. Now, Yatto and Teyune were stuck not knowing what to do because they had not prepared for the winter. They had not gathered enough firewood, and the sparks went out. They knew where the blizzard had taken her, to her lair in the far, far north in the Shadowlands. They knew they had to go out, to set out and rescue her. And so they did. They set out, following the sun, seeking the sun's guidance. The sun to the south was very low, but still just as strong. And following the sun told them where they needed to go, and he gave them 3 arrows of light to fire when they especially needed light. And off they set through the dark forests and up into the mountains. Along the way there was a baby deer fleeing from a wolf. Yatto and Teyune took to this deer in kindness, and they fired the arrow in the direction of the wolf so that the wolf would be frightened and run off. The baby deer was grateful, and so they walked together, brother and sister and deer, to find the deer's mother, who was very grateful to find her child again, and as such offered the brother and sister passage very fast over the plains, into the forest, into the tundra. When the mother deer and her baby went off to their home, she set the two upon their way, climbing a large mountain. Blizzard was watching everything, of course, because she sees everything from her lair. And as she was watching, she fired out darkness that blocked out the sky, blocked out the stars and the moon. pitch black was approaching and they couldn't see. But Yatto fired the second arrow at that point into the northern sky, and there appeared the sun's brothers, the northern lights. The northern lights at 3 points in the sky, illuminating the passage below so that they could finally see the top of the peak. And the chasm that separated the top of this peak from the blizzard's castle above. They climbed and they climbed and they climbed with the help of the northern lights until they stood before the chasm. At that point, it was Teyune, who was a master weaver in her own rights, and she felt like it. There was no other way across, so she had to cut off her hair and weave it into long braids and throw it across to the other side. They both used the braids as a rope that they lassoed onto a tree stump on the other side, and they swayed across the abyss and arrived safely to the other side, though Teyune no longer had her hair. They made way for the castle, but blocking their way at that point was Blizzard herself. You cannot pass. You will not come any further. If you do, you will disappear. It must be said that in the meantime, her mother was inside the castle, and at Blizzard's demand she had to sew a new robe to replace the one that had just been scorched by the ember of the fire. She was sewing hard and fast all day every day, but the house was so cold that her fingers were freezing and she could not sew well. The blizzard was demanding. So they knew that their mother was inside that castle sewing. And so the last arrow remained, and Yatto, who practiced his hunting skills, fired it at the blizzard and slayed her. The blizzard was slain, and they were able to enter the castle and rescue their beloved mother, who stared at them proudly. Teyune, what happened to your beautiful braids? They were beautiful, mother, but I needed to use them in another way. They helped us cross the chasm. I see, said the mother. How very adaptive of you. And Yatto, how were you able to defeat the beasts in the darkness on the way here? I received arrows from the sun, and I learned how to fire them with utmost accuracy. I see, the mother said proudly at her son. You're becoming a fine hunter indeed. And with that, Blizzard was defeated, for that year at least. Blizzard retreated, darkness retreated, and would only come many months later. They were able to salvage the light and use the light that they had gathered by seeking the wisdom of the sun as a tool to adapt to the darkness and to find their way and to come out a wee bit wiser.
Short summer night and a long June day. Plenty of sunshine, hardly any snow in the picture. But now's the time where we have to start thinking about the story of Yatto and Teyune and how they were able to adapt resiliently to the blizzard that entered their tent and took away what was most dear. They were tested. And now the reaction to the tests, how we are able to adapt, whether we're able to come out better on the other side, depends on how we prepare for them. So, yep, thinking it's about time that we start taking the sunlight that's so prevalent these days, cultivating it, and getting those sparks ready around our fireplaces, around our tents for for that day, a few months down the road when blizzards coming in. Prolong that fire as long as possible, and then once the darkness does hit, well, the sun has taught us valuable lessons. So there we have it. It's June 30th today, but the nights are getting longer.